Happy freaking Orc Day. It is time. The Orcs, the boys are getting some love. We have a brand new detachment to talk about. Now, it is supposedly posted on Games Workshop's website, on Warhammer community, but as of right now, the link is kind of messed up because they said they updated the faction pack, but they didn't actually include it. It'll be fixed later today, but for the purposes of this video, I'm actually just going to be utilizing Goonhammer, who also had access to pre-release stuff. So if you guys want to see the rules and they're not up on Warcom right now, you can just go on over to Goonhammer. So shout out for them for having the detachment listed up here. So let's talk about this new Orc detachment. It doesn't really change much in the meta, and I would say that right off my initial reading when I read this, I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty cool. I'm not necessarily certain that it's going to upset Warhorde, but it's got some really, really interesting things that are going to be pretty dope. It is going to be called like the Freebooters, the Freebooter for actually what's it called? Freebooter crew, the Freebooter crew. Interestingly enough, even though it's like all about freebooters, it doesn't really buff flash kits that much, to be honest with you, which is a little bit weird. But it does have some quite cool things involved in it. So let's go ahead and just like start breaking this bad boy down. The detachment rule is called Here Be Loot. And this is really the only problem with the detachment is the actual detachment rule. Your enhancements are solid, your stratagems are all solid, and the detachment rule isn't bad, but it was so close to being actually good. And I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to play around this. We might, and I'm definitely going to investigate playing the detachment. And anyway, let's just get into it. All right. At the start of the battle round, you select one objective marker. Now, the cool thing is it's just going to be any objective marker. It's not one in no man's land. It's not restricted. You just choose any objective marker. And until the start of the next battle round, Orcs infantry, Orcs mounted, and Walker units will gain sustained hits 1 if they're either in range of the loot objective or targeting a unit, which is. So if you're attacking a unit on that objective marker or you yourself are on said objective marker. And remember, for your big blobs, let's say you're running a 20-man boys with Gaz, as long as one model is touching that objective marker, or you're attacking a unit that has one model that is on that objective marker, you're going to get sustained hits. So it is basically easy enough to have, 80% of the benefit of being in Warhorde just by using this one objective marker. And it is also worth noting, which is really, really cool, that you get sustained hits in shooting and in melee, because every time you make an attack. So this gives you kind of game long sustained hits in both shooting and melee, which is kind of dope. The problem with it is the wording where you get to choose it at the start of the battle round. If you are the player who goes first, this is amazing because you get to determine the pace of battle, when you get the sustained hits, blah, 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 all these things, which is very, very strong. But if you go second, you still have to declare this before your opponent does their movement phase. So you can say, hey, I'm going to choose the center objective as my loot objective, and your opponent could just be like, great, I'm not going anywhere near the center objective. I'm just going to play everywhere else on the battlefield, and no problems. You don't get a detachment rule, and that's pretty annoying. Now, I will say there's a lot more clever play that you can do with this, and it's not all like it's not as awful as I just made it out to seem. There are a lot of things that you can do with it, and we'll explore some of those as we go through the enhancements and the stratagems, and then I'm going to wrap it up with give you my thoughts on which units love this detachment and what we might be doing to build this detachment out. Overall, I'm not actually negative on this detachment. I'm like optimistically positive on it. So anyway, let's get into the enhancements. Overall, detachment rule is cool. It's almost good, but it's at least neutral. It's definitely not bad. All right, enhancements. You have the captain. You can put this on a war boss, and once per battle round, at the start of any phase, you get to pick a battle shocked Orcs unit within 12 inches, and that unit takes D3 mortals and is no longer battle shocked. That rocks. This actually is really, 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 really good because it can mean that you never need to spend CP to auto pass your freaking battle shocked unit to auto pass just to guarantee that you're going to control an objective or something. This is critically important. It means that if it's the WA turn, your go turn, and you need to get somewhere and you fail the battle shock, oh well, you know what? Let's just not fail that battle shock. It's very powerful. It's very, very good. And it's once per battle round, and a 12-inch aura is actually quite relevant. All right. And it's in any phase, which is also quite cool. So, get Spotter Squig, 20 points. We've seen this in other detachments, and it's always quite good. And it can go on any Orcs model, so ranged weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit will gain Ignore covers. This is actually quite solid. Unfortunately, you can't use it on flash kits because flash kits don't have a leader, which is really, really lame. For the flash kits detachment, we would have loved to see a flash kits leader, but alas, it is what it is. So this is right off the bat going to go on one of two units. It's going to be going on either Ludas or it's going to be going on tank busters, or a big mech with shock attack gun that's leading either Ludas or tank busters. It's actually really good either way. Tank busters going to AP2 ignoring cover is much better than just AP2. Tank busters going to AP3 once per game when they activate their pulse rockets and ignoring cover is also really, really good. Tank busters going to AP3, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, ignoring cover, and having sustained hits and re-rolling ones to hit is actually quite interesting. So now suddenly, because tank busters are actually just straight up bad, like tank busters are not good for their points cost. They're far too expensive. But when you give them sustained hits, and now we're giving them ignore cover, they're becoming a bit of a different animal, and I am much more interested in them with this. So not necessarily something to ignore. That is very interesting. I think I probably prefer Unludas for reasons that we'll talk about later, but it's quite decent. Then we have the Bionic Workshop, which is a bit of a weird enhancement, but it's cool. It's kind of like a mini Cult of Bile kind of thing. So you can only put it on a Big Mech or a Pain Boy. If you put it on a Big Mech, you're probably going to... Like, I would probably put it on a Big Mech with Gaz, because I'm probably still going to run the 20-man Boys Blob with Gazcool in this detachment, and I'm probably going to just give this enhancement to the Big Mech, hoping and praying that you get the +2 to move. That's what I'm going to do. But basically what happens at the start of the battle, so you only do this once, you get to roll a D3, and models in the bearer's unit are either going to get +2 to move, +1 strength on melee weapons, or +1 weapon skill for melee weapons. They're all good. They're all useful. It's less useful if you roll it for +1 to weapon skill, although that is cool because it can like offset -1 to hit modifiers, and it's +1 weapon skill, not +1 to hit. So you can stack it with a +1 to hit and a +1 weapon skill. You can get like knobs, for example, hitting on 2s, which is very, very cool with the power claws. I'm gonna probably put this on the Big Mech, who's going to be leading the squad of Gaz and just kind of praying for the +2 to move. But if I get +1 strength, I'm not tripping about that. And if I get +1 and there's actually a lot of reasons why I'm not tripping about the +1 strength. It's actually highly relevant in this detachment, which we'll get to. And the +1 weapon skill is all right. Well, in that instance, it's like kind of okay, but it's all right. It's 15 points. It's a 15-point enhancement. I don't expect it to be game changing, but I do think it's actually quite useful. So 2 out of 3 times, it's great. 1 out of 3 times, it's like, it's whatever. That's not bad. And we have Raz gets Magic Map, which is just a 3-unit redeploy. Quite useful for commandos, but outside of that, whatever. All right, let's get into these stratagems, because these stratagems are, 1, named hilariously, very, very orky, but 2, they're actually really, really good, and I'm really interested to see how we're going to be able to build armies. And I actually at the end of this video, I think I might do a little like theory crafting with you guys. So just stay tuned for that. All right, Bash and Grab, which is battle tactic for 1 CP. It's used in the fight phase on any orc unit that hasn't fought yet. So until the end of the phase, you get to re-roll wound rolls against enemy units that are within range of your loot objective. This is really hard to plan for, but it's incredibly powerful if you can proc it. This is why I am uncertain about this detachment. Because if I go first and I see my opponent has like, I don't know, the Satan, or they have the Hecaton Land Fortress, or the whatever on the center objective, then I'm going to feel really, really, really good about sending out my unit of Beast Snags with my Beast Boss to get full wound rerolls, because then they're getting full hit rerolls, sustained hits, potentially even lethal from Makari's Aura. And they're also getting full wound rerolls with the devastating wounds from the Beast Boss. It's actually insane how much trauma you can inflict on an opponent with that. And exact same story if you're running like Breaker Boys. So Breaker Boys are absolutely love this. The problem with that is that if we go second and we tell our opponent that's the objective that I get my sustained hits on, and now I also get reroll wound rolls against, there's no way in heck they're ever gonna stand on that objective, unless it's like supply drop and they have no choice. In which case, all right, great. This army loves the mission supply drop. I mean, there you have it. You heard it here, folks. It is a good strat, but it's so limited by the fact that the detachment rule is limited. I have a hard time saying it's incredible, but it is a good strat. All right, next one, which is called Grab and Bash. I love. Use in your command phase. You get to pick one non-Gretchen unit that is within range of said loot objective, and until the start of your next command phase, the WA is active for that unit, even if you've already called the WA. This is very cool. This is very, very cool, and this is very, very, very interesting on a myriad of units. So one cool thing about this strat is you can just choose your home field objective to be the WA objective, and this can allow you to yeet out, I don't know, Gaz with 20 boys early in the game, turn 1, just have them just go merc and kill something. And if your opponent's not prepared to handle that much meat in a single turn in their follow-up phase, you can just turn, you can then declare the wall, get the wall on that unit again. And I'm not saying you have to do this with Gaz's unit, by the way, but for example, I'm just giving options here. Then you can just get the wall again. This is actually very, very interesting. It allows you to engage much earlier than you typically can with Orks, and it will provide a lot of flexibility. This also opens up my concept to running, I don't know, like multiple 20-man blobs of boys, because I can activate the wall for one of them, send them out early. Now they get that big 5-up invulnerable save. Then I can activate it for the whole army the next turn. And then for the turn afterwards, I can have it for that unit that, had to stay in transport during the wall turn because you just couldn't find a place for them. And now, boom, they're able to use it again. So there's so much utility for this strat. I think the stratagem is epic. It's incredible. And it is very clearly says that you can't use it on Gretchen unit because we all know the poison of Zodgrod Wartsnaga, who is leading his 20 Super Grots, getting to wall turn 1. So it's a good thing that they actually did exclude Gretchen from this use case. Awesome stratagem. We love it. Borden Rush, 1 CP. In your movement phase on 1 Orks unit from your army that hasn't moved yet, until the end of the phase, that unit auto advances 6. This rocks. This really replaces the fact that we don't have Here We Go from whatever you would call it, from a Warhorde, because now you just guarantee you're getting that 6-inch advance, which is so powerful in an Orc army that you really only have one, although now you have maybe slightly more than one options to get to where you're going. So this is a very, very powerful stratagem. Just auto 6-inch advance. It's also very cool because of the timing of it. It's just in the movement phase before you've actually done your move, which means you can do it after you disembark from a transport. So you can guarantee the 3 inches free disembark from the transport, your 6-inch move, your 6-inch advance, which means you can guarantee a 15-inch move with any infantry unit in Orks, or 14-inch, I guess, if it's Meganobs. That's very, very powerful. Also, let me just mention Meganobs again real quick, because using the grab and bash strat, which will allow you to put something into the wall, it does make Meganobs great again, in my opinion. Meganobs really like this detachment because they can just kind of sit on the objective and then reactivate their 5-up Field of Pain and reactivate their 5-up Field of Pain and just continuously have that durability that people hated them for having in the Bully Boys detachment. So there's a lot of stuff to this detachment. Then we have the Deck Fraggers for 1 CP. Deck Fraggers, jeez, I love Orks. Using your shooting phase on one of your Orks units that has not shot yet. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons in that unit will get blast when targeting infantry. This is very, very, very powerful. The hilarity, my friends, of taking a unit of Ludas that hit on 6s, but get full rerolls to hit when your opponent enemy is on an objective. And let's say that objective that they're on is going to be your sustained hits objective. They're going to have 3 shots each. And I mean, if they're within 24, 2 shots each if they're outside of 48. With full rerolls to hit and blast. So you could have a 10-man unit of Ludas. There's going to be 8 of those. I forget the name of their gun, but what is it? So it's going to be 8 times 3. That's going to be 12. That's going to be, 20. My God, I'm bad at math. Holy crap. 16, 24 shots. That's going to be 24 shots. And then blast. If you're shooting a 5-man squad, you're going to get an extra 5 shots on there. Or, I'm sorry, an extra 8 shots on there, which takes you 32 shots. If you're shooting a 10-man squad, that's going to give you an extra 10 shots on there. Oh, my God. Or an extra, 16 shots on there. This is an unbelievable amount of shots that you can put on a unit of Ludas that are now ignoring cover and getting sustained hits and full hits rerolls. The combinations here are bonkers. They're actually insane. Think about this on a unit of Flash Gets. A unit of Flash Gets hitting at 5, sustained hit 6. Now suddenly they get blast. It really does make Orks do kind of an absurd amount of damage in a certain turn. I think I like this mostly on the Ludas. But yeah, this is bonkers. This is actually bonkers here, right here. How much damage increase this is for some honestly relatively cheap units. So very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Now, I still don't think you're going to be spamming Ludas. You're probably only going to take the one squad that has the ignore cover because the others kind of suck. Maybe you take 2, but you're probably only taking the one. And if you do this, take the second, you're not going to have a leader with them. You're just going to let them be bare bones nerdy. But yeah, very, very powerful stratagem. Extremely useful. And then we have rolling loot heap. Dude, actually, I'm sorry. Before I go on, could you guys imagine shooting a 20-man unit of Khorne Berserkers with AP1, ignoring cover, sustained hits, full reels to hit, and blast on a unit of Ludas? Oh my gosh. There's 8 models in that, so that'd be a blast of 4. So 8 times 4. Oh my god, dude, that's 32 plus 24 shots with full reels to hit, with sustained hits, wounding on 2s, AP1, damage 2, ignoring cover. You're probably just going to pick up that entire unit in one shooting activation. It's kind of amazing. Shooting into a unit of Imperial Guardsmen. Oh my gosh. All right, this makes me happy. All right, now I can talk more. Let's do rolling loot heap. Use in your shooting phase on one flash kits unit from your army that has not shot yet. That unit gains anti-vehicle 4-up for its ranged weapons. This, I know some people might be excited about this. I think it sucks. I mean, dude, your AP1, you have no way to get ignore cover. You have no way to boost your AP in Orks for flash kits. Okay. I mean, what are we doing here? It's not anti-monster. It's only anti-vehicle, and all the vehicles you're shooting are going to be a 3-up or a 2-up, and they're always going to be in cover, which means they're going to be saving on a 3-up or a 2-up. I don't think this is good. I think that's kind of a, except for extreme niche scenarios, I think it's a waste of a stratagem. Although it sounds cool, but whatever. But that's okay, because all these other strats are awesome. Then we do crump and run. Use in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit falls back one Orcs unit from your army that was within engagement range of said units for the phase, and is now within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and is not, pardon me, not now, and is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, can now make a normal move of up to 6. This is awesome. This is actually awesome. This allows you to jump back into transports and do a lot of things. This allows you to ruin your opponent's ability to utilize Oath of Moment. Because let's say that you've got some, Meganobs hanging out on an objective, and your opponent oaths those Meganobs, falls back, gets into position, ready to obliterate them. You're just going to reactive move back into the battle wagon that's behind a wall. This is a very, very big deal. It's a great stratagem. It's not the best form of reactive moves. The best form of reactive moves are ending any movement within 9 inches, which, everyone else has access to, but sorry. Salty Bear is going back into the cage. This is a good stratagem, and I like it. All right, so let's talk about this detachment overall. We have great strats. We have access to sustained hits whenever the heck we want, and seeing as we're Orcs, we're always going to be basically running gas. If we can run gas, we basically have access to lethal hits. Now, in this detachment, I can get my Wah on a unit multiple times during the game, which means I can have access to lethal hits, and theoretically, all game long from Makari Zora, which means I can have sustained and lethal basically all game long. I have auto 6-inch advances on units that are able to advance a charge when they're in the wall, which is very, very powerful. I have the ability to get reroll wound rolls on a specific objective for units that love reroll wound rolls. We're talking Breaker Boys. We're talking Beast Snagging Boys. That's very, very powerful. This army is good. This is a strong detachment. This is a good detachment. Now, competitive viability, yes, you can go to a GT, you can go 3-2, you can go 4-1 with this detachment. I don't know about 5-0 viability. I don't know about your ability to take this to super majors and do well. That doesn't really matter for the vast majority of people running this army, because the vast majority of people are not looking to go 5-0 at GTs and go 6-0 at super majors and stuff. So I would say that if you're an Orc player and you're happy with this detachment, it's a good detachment. I would love, love, love to see them change the selection of that loot objective to the command phase. If they did that, I would argue this is probably a top tier detachment. I'm going to play with it. Maybe I'm going to change my mind as I play a little bit more, and I'm going to think that it's even better. The stratagems are top tier. The stratagems rock, except for the one flash kit with anti-vehicle, which is just hilariously not good in the flash kit detachment. But I like it. I hope you guys like it as well. I'm going to go ahead and close it up here. And yeah. I'll probably be back later because I've got another video on Orcs that I actually was planning for today. So I might have that out later tonight. So make sure to check it out. And until next time, crump on. Bye-bye.